All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion.
Something like that. You look so tiny in that chair. It seems like your shoulder. Anyways, welcome to the episode, everybody. We're here at Angie's garage again. And it's 15 degrees outside, but I cannot stop sweating because her gas heater is turned up over there, and we just got done with a part of a workout. I underwhelmed Angie with the workout because we work out in two very different ways for the most part. And it was actually a struggle for her not to take the way I work out and turn it into a WOD and just run through it as fast as she could. So with that comes a little bit of frustration on her part because she's like, I just want to keep doing stuff. But we put it up on her Instagram. We did a live. And then we're going to do more of them in the future. But it's just different ways to train. When it's like 90 degrees outside and Angie can tolerate being at my house in the garage, we'll do like a CrossFit workout in my garage or something like that.
Yes.
Maybe. In a broader sense,
Yeah.
it's backfiring on me. I told you we would do a workout and that would get our brains going. Now I can't talk.
That's okay. Don't worry. I got nicotine.
You sure do.
Bad
influence. Do you want to tell people about it?
Okay, so we'll tell them about what? How I said I would do it and then I chickened out again?
Yeah.
Because you're a bad influence.
Yeah.
We were talking about, I don't know, nicotine, I guess.
Caffeine
and stuff. And I was talking about how I got offered Zyn after a fire, and I was like, "Huh, are you crazy?" But then I'm like, "Well, maybe."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, can you run somewhere really quick?"
No, I said you have time to.
If we have time, which I did.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of nicotine pouches.
Yeah, but why don't you tell everybody what you're giving up to go back to the nicotine pouches?
Probably drinking.
Right.
But here's the thing. I told you this before. I don't do anything I don't cut anything off. Like when I think I'm drinking too much, I don't stop drinking. I like slowly ease into drinking too much. And then I'm like, I'm drinking too much. And then over the course of like a month, I'll drink less and less. And then I won't drink for like a couple weeks, maybe a month. And I'll be
So
like,
yo-yo your alcohol usage?
yeah, but not to the depths of the yo-yo are never like destructive.
Well,
it's just
that's
like,
good.
I'm drinking like one or two a night. That's most nights of the week.
That's still a lot.
Let's not get too shameful here. And then I'll pull it back. And then, so same thing with nicotine. I did the nicotine pouches, loved them. Got to the point where I was like, I'm doing a couple too many of these a day. I think I'm just going to cut it back. Then I cut it back to like one or two a day. And then I was like, I'll just stop when I run out of this pack. And then I did. And I just haven't cared enough to make a trip to get them. And then you were like, I've been thinking about doing nicotine. I was like,
I have been thinking
I have
about
all the
it.
information for you.
Yeah.
Because I like it because I used to chew big time. I mean, 20 years ago, yeah, when I was playing hockey, chewing was still is like the thing to do.
Yeah.
And then I did it into the fire department, and then I was like, this is gross, so I got rid of that. But there's very little to replace that feeling or that ritual besides just more chewing.
Yeah.
And so then there was this thing called Black Buffalo, which is another company. They make loose leaf, not tobacco, chew. It's just another vegetable. And they dye it and then soak it in nicotine, but it's loose.
Oh, okay.
It's gross. And they also make pouches, which is fine, but it's still brown when you spit it out.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah. So it's 50% awesome. So I quit that. And then they had the nicotine pouches, and I was like, well, these are the way. This is the future. All the nicotine, none of the cancer, because the cancer's from the tobacco.
True.
And it's all good.
Which is what we're focusing on today.
The cancer.
Is cancer stuff.
That was a good way to tie it in.
Yeah, it was a good way to tie in because we're going to be talking about exposures on and off duty. So it's hard to avoid, everything causes cancer, right? That's a huge, you can't completely avoid it, but there are controllables. And I think that's important because there are both controllables on shift and off shift.
In the business, we call those modifiable risk factors. If you were in the medical field.
Modifiable risk factors.
If you're in the medical field, I would say that's what they would categorize those as.
However, I do have to interrupt that for a second because I do have to say, even though I was underimpressed with the workout, my whoop just told me an activity was detected.
There was some activity.
So there has to be something, but I digress. Let's go back to the cancer.
Okay.
All right, sorry. Unbelievable.
I know.
All right. So let's talk about on-duty exposures.
Okay.
So
the most frustrating one right off the bat.
yeah, and the thing too is it is frustrating because we can't control a lot of those. However, I think you and I both had a conversation that we saw, other departments maybe be posting pictures of them in clear atmospheres that they should be masked up.
Yeah. That's the most annoying one. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and
that's
it's totally
the most frustrating
annoying. It's completely frustrating.
Yeah. It's stupid. It's avoidable, a modifiable risk factor, right?
Yeah.
The air's free. We have so many people showing up to these fires now that there's an endless supply of bottles. And if you don't have any more air, by that time, what we're talking about is not like fire attack stuff.
Right.
The pictures we are looking at and the times where we get to nitpick people on wearing their masks is like overhaul stuff.
Yeah.
Or even right before it when it's like, well, the rig's back there. I don't want to get a bottle. I'll just pull my hood up over my mouth and breathe through my hood. Or like, I'm just going to choke on it for a little bit because...
And what's in your hood?
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And quite honestly, well, let's be honest. We're here to like do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm called in for overhaul, I'm doing as much overhaul as much as I can, as fast as I can to rip through that bottle so I can go through 2 of them and then not get called back up for more overhaul. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be doing overhaul and go on my low air and then disconnect so I can do more overhaul and clean up somebody else's mess. That's just my selfish mentality, and I get it. But yeah, if I got to the point a long time ago where if we had a fire and then I would go back afterwards and blow my nose and like dark boogers came out, I was like, well, that was stupid. Because I got those not during a fire attack.
Right.
So at that point, what are you getting them for?
Here, the thing that frustrates me the most is, I mean, we had a fire, and the fire had actually snuffed it. I know. Jeez. Well, I can't even say it because the fire had snuffed itself out. So it was not an active fire, right?
Yeah.
And, I think, and I don't know what the mentality is. If it's like, well, I can still see in here, so it's not like doing anything to me. I don't understand the mentality. Maybe people just aren't thinking like latent. Like cancer is latent. Like that's not. It's not. You're not going to be exposed to it right now and then get it tomorrow. So everyone has this mentality like it's never going to happen to me or whatever the case is, maybe. So they wanted us to come in and kind of look, at the. And this was my bad. I should have had my mask. I should have put my mask on even though it was clear in the house.
Yeah.
And I was in there for 2 to 3 minutes. There was like soot, a good like quarter-inch of soot all over their floors, vents, everything from an HVAC. And I went back to the station. I blew my nose, and I had more soot in my nose than some of the fires active fires that I've been on that I know I should have been wearing my mask. And the worst part is the most frustrating part is these new guys coming in, and then as a new person still, I mean under a 10-year firefighter, when I first came in, I did not know much. I was not informed, educated, or anything about any of this stuff. I knew that going into fires and breathing in smoke was carcinogenic. I didn't know all the other components of it.
Yeah.
And so when you're underneath people who you see going in somewhere without a mask, you automatically go, well, they know what it is, so they know, oh, it's okay that I come in there and stuff like that. So that was my mentality, of course, as a new person. And then obviously, too, you don't want to look a certain way to your department or the people that you work around because you're wearing your mask and they're not. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a big thing. So it sucks when I know that like new people are coming in and they may not know the knowledge or be informed. And it's important for, I think, the leaders to be passing that down to them and being like, it's not worth it, because it's not worth it. And we were at the Water on the Fire conference down in Pensacola last year and got to talk to Lieutenant Mike Campo, who was a guy. What?
No idea. This is the weakness.
I always forget, like, you don't,
I have
like,
zero
you
clue
don't,
who these people are. Yeah.
Man, you got to start doing that.
I know.
Check that on your list.
I know.
But,
I know.
So he, big name, FDNY.
Believe you.
He talked with us at the pool for a long time, shared very personal photos and everything from his cancer. He was a big keynote
Okay, good. I'm glad you brought
speaker.
it back to that.
Back to.
I don't mean to ruin your moment here.
No, he had neck cancer, and he showed us. And the big thing was our mask. There's another guy at a local department right now that's dealing with skin cancer from his mask. And I know that we decon them, but then it's like, how good is our decon on our masks? So there's I just feel like no good answer with some of the exposures, especially when you go and they're like, oh, well, you have to take off your mask this way and decon your gloves this way. But it's like, But we put on and off our mask consistently throughout a fire ground. It's not like we have it on all the way through and then we take it off the one time and then it's off for good.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
you're putting
like,
on your
what's
mask
the
every
answer?
morning to check your pack in some form or fashion, at least a seal, right? And it's not to the level of needing gross decon when you're doing that, but it's still a contact point. It's just a weird thing, man. Like, I definitely remember being a newer guy and being in these little fires, like a bathroom fan or a pile of clothes in the corner or something like that. And I had a lieutenant at the time who was just a maniac. Just a maniac. He would run in. He was like a ready, shoot, aim kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I got into some situations with him. I was like, I really need to put my mask on right now. And he was starting to cough or like hacking a little bit. And I was like, couldn't see, like choking almost on the stuff. And I was like, God damn. So it's like the frog boiling water thing. Like you get in there, you're like, okay, it's not bad at the door. And then you go down the hallway or up to the second floor. You're like, it's a little worse up here. But how bad is bad enough to go on air? Especially when nobody else is, you know? But I can tell you that over the 15 or 16 years, and the times I've been like, hey, just put your mask on. Like, what are you doing? Or I've seen another officer working, and I'd be like, get your guy on air, because what are we doing up here? Yeah. I've never had anybody come back afterwards and be like, why'd you tell me to put my mask on? Yeah. They're always like, sorry, should have thought about that, or like, this kid doesn't know, I should have been looking after him better. Not to say like self-righteous or anything, but I've never had anybody come back and be like, you fucking suck. Like, you suck for making me put my mask on because it wasn't that bad. Right. They've always been like, yeah, okay, it's no harm, no foul kind of thing. Yeah. So it's very low barrier to entry, very low cost of protecting yourself, very high payback in the terms of just one less like exposure. Yeah, one less potential for disaster, right?
So we have that. What else? So station dust is a big one, I guess, too.
Station dust is a big one, but I think one of the biggest lifesavers we had, and it's something you don't even notice now, is like the Plime event or the magnet thing around the
let's talk about that,
exhaust.
because I'll be honest, I know the diesel exhaust, which I think back to, like when we would be out in really cold weather, I had no idea diesel exhaust like caused any cancer. Here I was warming my hands up, warming my legs up, all on the exhaust. Yeah. Because I had no idea, and I think about that all like. I'm so screwed. I'm like, the amount of times,
cancer.
The amount of times that I've warmed myself in a freaking exhaust.
So I'm old. I'm not too old. When I was working my part-time job, when I first got started, they didn't have a Plime event system or anything like that. And then probably 2 years in, they got one. And it was almost like I was almost old enough to know when there were smoking sections in restaurants. Yeah. And you know how bad it was.
So pointless.
And then they and then they outlawed it, right?
Yeah.
But then you go like Wisconsin or something, and you go into a bar and you're like, oh my God, it's terrible. Is this what it used to be like? It was like that with the Plime event stuff too.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it stunk like diesel. It's no big deal. Like, it's just the way it is. Like, blah blah blah. And then they got rid of it, or they put the systems in, and then within the year, if someone forgot to hook it up and you smelled that blast of diesel when the rig started up, you'd be like, what is going on out there? They're running it like for an hour on end on the bay floor. It was that noticeable.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, luckily I didn't have a lot of years in it. I mean, there's always stories. You talk to the old guys of like, you never wash the walls in the station. Like, that's the number one thing you don't do, because once you start, you can't stop, because you think it's white, and then you wash the cinder block and you have like one white one, you're like, crap. So now you have to like blend it into the dirty ones. Yeah. So it's not that bad anymore. It's still like that a little bit, because they're never going to stay on 100%, right? Yeah. And even in my old department, we had a thing where you're supposed to catch the rig coming in. So you would stand at the threshold with the Plime event. Okay. And as it was backing in, they would pause and you put it on and then let it back in with it on.
Oh, okay.
And then I can't remember if somebody got hurt or tripped or got run over or something like that. But that's just not the way we do it in my department now. But so it's always going to be a little contaminated. Yeah. But that first startup of exhaust coming out is way worse than it running at temperature. Yeah. And just
I know they have like the DEF.
DEF is big. DEF is a pain in the butt. Yeah.
But it's also, I do wonder sometimes, like,
so DEF
how much is it really?
It's a little bit, but DEF was made for not the fire service, so it helps. But I'm not sure I know that for a long time when they first instituted the DEF regulations, a lot of departments were trying to get around it and get like a special exemption of like, I know the problem you're trying to solve. The fire department doesn't have that problem. Can we get it out of there? And they just would not allow an exemption for it. So I'm sure it helps. But it's also another chemical that you're throwing around the station and handling, right?
Do you guys, as far as your cookware and stuff in your kitchen, You guys have the good
Just
old scratched up Teflon
We did.
pans that have been around for, 20 years or whatever.
We did. We got all station by station was such hit or miss. And then we all just got through foreign fire techs. We just got all hex-clad stuff.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy. But for a long time, we had cast iron or stainless steel just to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, you buy like a nice enamel pan, and somebody would just hit it on high right away and just scorch it.
Yeah.
And then it's all
I feel like this conversation about like those kind of exposures, right? Like in the station, like little things.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the people who are so far. I had this conversation with a coworker of mine. You have the people who are so far right about all this stuff, who are Nazis about it. Who are Nazis about every single little thing that we use.
Yeah.
And then you have the opposite. Okay, like there usually is no middle. I feel
Yeah.
like there is no middle person at the fire station. There's
Yeah.
always like the extreme right or the extreme left who doesn't give two craps about what they cook their stuff on or whatever the case may be. And then these people try to talk to these people, and immediately they just don't even want to hear it, don't want to talk about it. They aren't going to believe you or anything like that because both are so in their ways. It's so hard to get people to come to that. Right? True. But it's so hard to get people to come to that middle because these are problems. These are real problems. These are studies that are out there. Why aren't we, lessening it? You have these people making fun of these people for doing it. However, these people are probably doing something a little bit more right.
Well, it's such a weird culture though too, like because you would never, the pans that are in your kitchen at the fire station now, you would never use in your home. If a pan looked like that, you'd be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And you would throw it out immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's just destroyed.
It's disgusting.
And it's gross. You'd be like, I'm never going to use this thing.
It's
like,
gross.
how did I let it get to this point? But you go to the fire station, you're like, well, it's the weird little thing of like, well, we're firemen. It's just what it is. It's a dirty kitchen, and that's what it looks like. So it's its own little universe in there where the rules apply at varying levels. But yeah,
that sucks.
But it's also growing out of that because
which is good, and I hope that more places do because these are those little controllables. The less that we give exposures, or have exposures in the station, the better off we're going to be. I like to do this job for a long time. And those are those small changes that really shouldn't mean so much to some people, honestly. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm a little bit more far right than I am left. But
I think it's also just if you start taking these steps, as soon as you start to acknowledge that you need these extra things, then you have to start acknowledging like there's an actual problem.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as you start to be like, we need a Plime event system, then you start asking why, and you learn why you need a Plime event and why you should be using the gray hoods instead of the white cotton ones or whatever, or the Nomex ones, and why we should be doing this instead of that. Then you get into this web of like, well, I'm screwed. Like, I don't even want to look at that whole thing, so I'm just going to play ignorant to it all, and everything's fine because nothing's gone terribly wrong so far. And so I think it's a scary thing. Like, I don't want to even acknowledge it because then I gotta know about it.
Yeah.
So
we're just very much in the fire service, not just the fire, law enforcement with shift workers and all that stuff. Like we're very much in an unfortunate situation where our job it does require us to be more prone to cancer, more prone to all these things, and we were talking earlier, or I said the epigenetic thing, right? So epigenetics, you can change the way your genes are expressed basically by environment, stress, the way you eat, exercise, things like that. And I was reading a study about how firefighters, they did a small study about it. We are basically we genetically age much faster than the average person. Go figure.
More wisdom,
Not like I'm surprised by that. And everyone is going to hate me for this because we're going to start talking about off-the-job exposures. Everyone's going to hate me for this completely, but I would love to talk about alcohol and the usage because I think it is no secret that it is extremely prevalent in the fire service. Way more than, I'll be honest, I did not realize until I got into it. We need to talk about that.
Okay. What's your big heavy hitter with alcohol?
Well,
what's the biggest thing that you think of alcohol? You're like, I can't believe the fire service blank on alcohol.
It's known to cause 7 different kinds of cancers. It is well known about that. Finally, general surgeon comes out, says, we have to put something on it. But this has been well known for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not yes, it does do something mentally, right, to people. It's not good for a mental state, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about what it does to your body.
Okay.
Oxidative stress, how it I know. Oh,
What
here
does
we
it turn
go.
into?
Here we go.
Acetyl.
Oh my gosh, acetyl.
There's no way you're going to remember it.
Shoot,
There's
man.
0% chance.
Everyone,
and if
please
you close out the tab, you're
hold.
never going to get it.
I know. I'm like, gosh darn it.
So
Everyone
alcohol,
hold.
when I came into while you look that up.
Yeah.
When I came into the fire service, alcohol was a hugely social thing, right? And if you drank at home alone, you were just as much a weirdo as if you did it 20 years ago or current day.
Yeah.
But it was also like, I came out with this group where I worked part-time with like 4 or 5 guys that were all in the same age group, and we're all single, and 3 of us lived in the same house, and it was just a alcohol massacre like every day. But we were all young, and we could get away with it, and it was a good time, and it was just something you did. Like day drinking, drinking after medic school, drinking the morning after your shift at the fire station. It was a social thing that it's all good. And until you start feeling the physical effects of it, it's just one of those things where like, it's part of the ritual, it's part of the social construct of the fire service. Until it hurts you, keep doing it kind of thing, right?
Well, no one thinks, like I said, I feel like it's, again, that mentality. It's the mentality of it's never going to happen to me. It's another thing, whether it's a latent thing, drinking, unless, of course, you like drink yourself dead. Which, I mean, we've all brought in those people before. Because it's not, I mean, it's not just the fire service, right? Like, it's very big everywhere. But in somewhere where we know that we are already predisposed. I mean, we are already at like this big risk. Why do we keep doing it? If you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your family. Like, you have kids, you have wives. Like, it's self-destructive and it's reckless. And I'm not saying like, I don't want people to think, I don't drink, but I don't judge people. And I don't judge people who drink. I don't.
Yeah.
I think people automatically assume because I don't that I'm like this big judgy person who's going to judge the people who don't. I was a huge drinker.
Yeah.
Huge. Like.
You're a little drinker.
Well, haha. I got that one. All the short jokes. Okay. I used alcohol.
Drink a thimble full at a
No,
time.
seriously though. Like, I don't drink for many reasons.
Yeah.
I think my biggest reason is like alcohol served a really crappy time in my life. And I don't drink mostly because every time I drink, I feel guilt because it almost takes me back to those things. However, the more I've learned about it, what it does to your body, it is just a push to continue to not do it. And there is a limit. And I'm not saying that you can't drink, but how often it is, I think is a problem.
My crutch with drinking, not my crutch, my crutch. What am I thinking? My issue with drinking is, I don't know when I started weighing the cost benefit of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I'm not. Oh, it's when I started drinking non-alcoholic beer. So a handful of years ago, I would get it, and Katie would be like, I just don't understand why you would get non-alcoholic beer. I'm like, well, because it still serves a ritual part of it. It still mostly tastes like the thing I would drink. I said, but I'm not drinking to like disassociate. I'm not drinking to get drunk or like pass out or anything like that. And at that point, I'm not going to drink enough to do that. Like if I was going to do that, I'd be like, there's a purpose there. I'm going to go get ripped tonight to party or dissociate or whatever, right? There's a goal to drinking that night. Short of that, I'm only drinking 1 or 2 and I don't feel a buzz off it. And I'm not getting any like benefits of going all the way and having a great time and dancing on the table. So what's the cost and benefit of taking in the alcohol at all? At that point, I was like, well, there's not really any, because drinking just 1 whiskey or 3 beers isn't enough to like accomplish any goal.
Right.
If that sounds weird, right?
No, it doesn't. I know exactly what you're saying.
So it doesn't accomplish a goal. So at that point, why do it? So you either got to go big, or it's like, I just won't.
Yeah.
And so now I'm at a point, I'm kind of weaning down off it, like we talked about at the beginning, where it was like 1 a night, no big deal. But then I was like, well, why? If I didn't drink this 1 a night, would I really be any different? And it's like, well, no, because it's not giving me a buzz. It's not altering anything. It's not making me relax at all. It's just like a ritual or routine now at this point.
Right.
So if it's a damaging routine with no benefit and expected cost down the road, like aside from the habit of it, I guess it's not that bad just to get rid of it. And and I'll flow back into it. Like I'll go off it for like a month or so and be like, I'll just have a drink, or something will happen. We'll go to a party and I'll start drinking again. But I think that's that might be a natural progression to people too.
I don't know why people think that it makes them sleep better. I feel like
makes you
that
fall
is
asleep better.
Yeah, but
Like
your
right
sleep
now.
is terrible with
Yeah.
it. But I don't think people actually, not enough people, I think, pay attention to that or have things that show the data of that in your sleep. They just think because they fell,
Well, the disconnect is that you fall asleep quick, potentially, right? You fall asleep, you stay asleep for whatever the first cycle is. But in the morning, if you drank that much to make yourself fall asleep, you feel like crap.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say, oh, I feel like crap because I didn't get good sleep pattern cycles, right? They're going to be like, no, because I hammered down a bottle of Jack yesterday.
Exactly.
That's why I feel like crap. So, if you didn't drink and you slept in that cycle, much like being at work, you'd feel like crap. But there's a clear villain to tie it back to, which is the alcohol.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
It's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my friend teaches cancer biology, and I talked to her a bit, and basically she said that chemical terms, ethanol breaks down metabolically to, I'm not going to butcher this.
You will.
Acetyl.
Already did.
I already did it. Acetyl.
Nope.
Just stop.
3 strikes.
Too much pressure, man.
Tens of people watching this.
Oh, gosh darn me.
You said it the first time.
I
pretty
did.
Quickly. To a chemical.
Acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde.
Yep.
Which is a highly carcinogenic.
Carcinogenic.
Yeah. Maybe I should pop a freaking nicotine thing in. Okay. Compound. So it isn't really the ethanol. So that chemical directly attacks our DNA and creates mutations that result in cancer. So basically.
Now the average fireman, what they would do was continue to drink, but then figure out what they can take to fortify their DNA structure.
Oh my gosh.
I need a DNA structure supplement.
I know people who take supplements that are like, this helps which maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. I haven't done enough, research on it, but I've seen supplements, this helps with oxidative stress. Or you see the people who take, what is it they take before they drink? The activated charcoal.
No.
I had friends who would do that.
Isn't that to make you throw up?
It's supposed to have it bind to it. You could. I mean, you could have it like that, but it's just not like that. But
yeah. So alcohol is your number one off-duty exposure.
Yeah, we should probably
concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get off that topic, but
I'm sure we'll come back to it again.
We'll come back to it at some point, but I do have to say, because this is funny, because she said this is where this
better be funny.
She goes, well, I thought it was funny. This is where the beer and alcohol shits come from your body when you're ingesting ethanol. You have massive cell death from your mouth all the way down to your asshole.
God,
so if that is not enough to make you quit.
She sounds like a real hoot at parties.
She's the best.
Yeah.
I love her.
You're killing yourself from your mouth to your asshole right now. It's just walking around the party.
It's enough to make me go, yup, I'm not doing that.
Any other big one? I feel obviously it's a big one.
Yeah,
Sleep
it is a big one. That could be like
one.
a whole hour thing, but we're already at kind of the mark where I'm sure people like me are bored.
Are you boring yourself? Is that how you know?
Yeah, basically. I'm all right, I'm talking a lot.
Sign us off.
Okay. Well, first of all,
is there a call to action? Is it like what do people do?
So, okay.
Put your air on. Wear your air.
I did.
Dum-dums.
We
did.
We posted something I got from California. Basically, there's these sheets that you can bring to your physicians. It has all the testing. I know that all departments don't have maybe the best testing or really any at all. Just want to, key takeaway from this is, if you want those pages, please message us. I feel it's literally a letter from a doctor to your doctor is basically what it is. And it has all these things. It has one for male, one for female. There's a ton of things on there that you should get tested. I did not see testosterone on it. However, I do think that is another thing that's really, really important, which you don't even need to see a doctor to get that tested. They have plenty of things online that you can go and just pay for it. And if you have an HSA account, you could probably use that. It's not expensive. As well for women also to get all their stuff checked too. So basically go get your stuff checked, stay informed, you let your new guys know what to do, be a good example, and don't be stupid. Don't get cancers.
Don't
get the cancers.
We don't have a new tagline for this show yet. Like capable and durable is the 4th shift one.
I know. Capable, durable, annoying.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
We'll think of one.
We'll have to think of one. But
okay.
Stay cool, guys. Don't get the cancers.
There it is right there.